You know, I had lunch last week with my old friend Margaret. She's 78, sharp as a tack, and she said something that stuck with me ever since. She leaned across the table and told me, if I could go back to my first day of retirement, I'd do everything differently. Now, Margaret isn't alone. After talking to hundreds of retirees, I've noticed one regret that comes up more than any other, more than money worries, more than health concerns. It's this quiet, aching feeling of, I wish I hadn't waited so long to live the life I really wanted. Maybe you've felt that too. Maybe there's a dream you've been putting off, a trip you've wanted to take, a hobby you've wanted to try, or just more time with the people you love. Today, we're going to talk about why this regret happens, and most importantly, how you can avoid it. The trap of someday. Here's the thing about retirement, we spend decades imagining it will be this magical chapter where all our dreams finally happen. But then reality sets in. We tell ourselves, I'll travel next year when I have more savings. I'll take up painting when things slow down. I'll reconnect with old friends when I'm less busy. But someday is a slippery thing. I'll never forget a letter I got from a viewer named Henry. He wrote, I retired at 65 with plans to visit Alaska. Put it off for just one more year, for a decade. At 75, my arthritis got bad. Now I'll never see the Northern Lights. That broke my heart, not just because Henry missed his trip, but because he's not alone. Research shows nearly 70% of retirees have similar regrets about postponing what matters most. So why do we do this? 1. We overestimate time. There's a strange illusion that happens as we age. The days feel long, but the years fly by. We forget that retirement isn't a bottomless well of time, it's a finite gift. 2. Fear masquerades as practicality. It's easy to dress up fear as being responsible. I shouldn't spend money on a cruise when I might need it for medical bills. But often, it's just fear of stepping outside our comfort zones. Now, I'm not saying you need to drain your savings or book a round-the-world ticket tomorrow, unless you want to. The key is to start small but start now. Here's what that looks like. The 5-year rule. Ask yourself, if I look back 5 years from now, what will I wish I'd started today? Maybe it's finally writing those family stories down, or taking a weekly gardening class. Reverse budgeting. Most people budget money first, then dreams last. Flip that. Set aside $20 a month for your joy fund, whether that's for art supplies or train tickets to visit grandkids. Let me tell you about my neighbor, Lois. At 72, she mentioned she'd always wanted to learn piano but thought it was too late. Last year, she bought a used keyboard and started free lessons on YouTube. Now, she plays Moonlight Sonata for her grandkids every Sunday. Was she perfect at first? Of course not, but that's not the point. The point is, she started. The courage to prioritize yourself. Here's a hard truth. No one will give you permission to put your dreams first. Not your kids, not your friends, not your bank account. You have to choose yourself. I think about a viewer named Carl, who told me, I spent years babysitting grandkids every weekend while my fishing gear gathered dust. One day, my daughter said, Dad, why don't you ever go fishing anymore? I realized, I never told her I missed it. Your loved ones want you to be happy, but they can't read your mind. Try this today. 1. Grab a notebook and write down one thing you've been putting off. 2. Under it, write, what's the smallest step I could take toward this right now? 3. Do that step this week. Not next month. Not when the weather's better. This week. But for now, I'll leave you with this. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time? Today. Smiling, lifting teacup in a toast. Here's to your next adventure, whatever that looks like for you. You know, that book I'm holding? It's my grandfather's fishing journal. He kept it for nearly 40 years, filled with notes about every trout he caught, every sunrise he saw by the lake. But here's what's interesting, all those entries stop abruptly about 5 years before he passed away. When I asked him why, he just said, oh, my knees got bad, and I figured that part of my life was over. That journal taught me something important. We don't just lose opportunities because of physical limitations, we lose them because we decide our story is already written. And that's exactly what we're going to tackle today. The too late lie. How many times have you caught yourself thinking, I'm too old to start something new, or my best years are behind me? Here's the truth. That voice in your head, it's lying to you. Let me tell you about Sarah, a viewer from Florida. At 68, she decided to learn Italian because she'd always dreamed of visiting Tuscany. Her kids laughed and said, Mom, you can't even work the TV remote. 2 years later, she sent me a postcard from Florence, written entirely in Italian. On the back it said, the only thing that was truly too late was believing it was too late. Why this matters. 1. Neuroplasticity doesn't retire. Your brain can form new connections at any age. A 2019 MIT study showed seniors learning new languages developed neural pathways just as robust as younger learners. 2. Adaptation beats limitation. Can't hike the Alps? Try nature photography at your local park. Hands too stiff for painting? Digital art tablets require less pressure. There's always a way to adapt your dream. Breaking through the guilt barrier. Now, let's talk about something that holds back more retirees than any physical limitation: guilt. I shouldn't spend money on myself when I could leave more for the kids. It's selfish to take time away from family. Here's what I want you to understand. Your happiness isn't a withdrawal from your family's bank account. It's an investment. Real-life example. My friend Ed spent years putting off a cross-country train trip to care for his adult daughter's kids. When he finally went at 74, guess what happened? His grandkids barely noticed he was gone for 2 weeks. But they got the most incredible souvenir, the grandfather who came back glowing with stories and energy. The 5-minute rule for overcoming inertia. The biggest hurdle isn't ability, it's getting started. Here's a simple trick. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Do one tiny piece of your dream in that time. Research one destination online. Call and inquire about a class. Dig out those old watercolors. When the timer goes off, you can stop guilt-free. Why this works? Most people discover that once they start, they want to keep going. But even if you don't, you've made more progress than waiting for someday. When health throws curveballs. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. What if your body won't cooperate with your dreams? Meet Ruth, who at 82 told me, "I always wanted to dance, but my arthritis said no. So now I danced with my hands. I took up sign language interpretation for musicals instead." Adaptation ideas. Bad knees? Try swimming or chair yoga. Weak grip? Use adaptive tools for gardening crafts. Low energy? Break activities into 15-minute micro-adventures. The key isn't doing things exactly as you imagined, it's capturing the feeling you wanted from that dream. We'll talk more about creating your personal legacy list and dealing with naysayers in our next conversation. But for now, I want you to do one thing. Tonight, before bed, ask yourself, what's one small piece of my unlived life that I could reclaim this week? Because here's the secret no one tells you about retirement. It's not an ending, it's your chance to finally write the chapters you've been putting off. And those might just be your best ones yet. You know, there's something remarkable about this rosebush behind me. When I planted it 5 years ago, my neighbor, a retired botanist, told me it would never thrive in this soil. Too acidic, he said. But look at it now, bursting with color, stronger than ever. It reminds me so much of an email I received recently from a viewer named Miriam. At 71, she'd been told her dream of starting a small bakery was unrealistic. Too old, too risky, too late. I was just listening to the wrong voices. The myth of the appropriate retirement. There's this unspoken rulebook about what retirement should look like. Travel, but not too adventurously. Hobbies, but nothing too ambitious. Rest, but not too much, or you're wasting time. Who wrote these rules? Certainly not anyone living a truly fulfilling retirement. Here's the truth. Your retirement should look exactly like you want it to. Let me share 2 examples. 1. Frank, 76. After his golf buddies teased him about taking ballet classes, he nearly quit. Today, he performs with a senior dance troupe and says it's brought him more joy than 40 years on the greens ever did. 2. Eleanor, 79. Told her family she was spending part of her savings to volunteer with elephants in Thailand. They panicked. She went anyway, came home with a new purpose, now runs a senior volunteer program at her local zoo. Silencing the 4 toxic voices. Through my conversations with hundreds of retirees, I've identified 4 types of negativity you need to recognize. 1. The projector. I could never do that at your age. Translation, they are actually talking about their own limitations, not yours. 2. The worrier. Should you really be spending money on that? Usually comes from love, but can suffocate your dreams. 3. The timekeeper. Are you a little old for this? As if creativity and joy have expiration dates. 4. The ghost of past you. I used to be able to. The most dangerous voice of all, comparing present you to younger you. Try this, next time you hear these voices, internal or external, ask, is this person thought speaking from knowledge or fear? Creating your legacy list. Now, let's turn this into action. I want you to try an exercise I call the legacy list. Not a bucket list of grand gestures, but a collection of experiences that will make you feel truly alive. How it works. 1. Divide your life into categories: learn, create, experience, connect. 2. For each, write down 3 to 5 things that would light you up. Oh, not what you should do. Oh, not what others expect. Oh, only what makes your heart quicken. Example from Sam, 83. Learn, play blues harmonica, create, paint a mural for the community center, experience, sleep under the stars one more time, connect, reconcile with his estranged sister. The 1 degree principle. You don't need dramatic changes to transform your retirement. Small shifts create big waves over time. Try this today. 1. Identify one dream you've put off. 2. Adjust your course by just 1 degree, a tiny step toward it. Oh, want to write a memoir? Record one childhood memory on your phone today. Oh, dream of Italy? Make authentic pasta for dinner this week. 3. Notice how these small actions change your energy. When doubt creeps back in, even after you start, there will be days when the old doubts return. Here's my favorite antidote. Keep what I call an "I did it" jar. Every time you try something new, push past fear, choose joy over shoulds, drop a note in the jar. On hard days, pull out a few and remember, you're already becoming the person who doesn't settle for regrets. This journal belonged to Miriam, the baker I mentioned earlier. On its first page, written in shaky handwriting after her first successful bake sale, it says, "Today I proved them all wrong. But more importantly, I proved myself right." In our final part, we'll talk about turning these dreams into daily reality, practical strategies for making your legacy list come alive, no matter what life throws your way. But for now, I'll leave you with this question. What's one thing you've been putting off that deserves to be in your "I did it" jar this week? Because the world needs more people like you, people brave enough to bloom where they are planted, no matter what the so-called experts say about the soil. This chair tells a story. 3 months ago, it was just scrap wood in George's garage, a 79-year-old retired accountant who told me sheepishly, "I've never built anything in my life." Today? Well, you should see the pride in his eyes when his great-granddaughter rocks in it. And you know what changed? He stopped saying, "I can't," and started asking, "How could I?" That simple shift, that's where extraordinary retirements are built. Not in grand gestures, but in daily acts of courage. And that's exactly what we're going to explore today. How to turn those Sunday dreams into your everyday reality. The rhythm of reinvention. Retirement isn't a single event, it's a rhythm you create. Like my friend Lillian, who at 72 established what she calls her Tuesday adventures. Every week, no exceptions, she tries something that scares her just a little. Last month? A pottery class. Yesterday? She booked a solo train trip to Montreal. Here's how to find your rhythm. 1. Anchor days. Designate set times for your dreams, e.g., Thursday afternoons are for my novel. 2. Micro commitments. Promise yourself just 15 minutes daily on your passion. 3. Progress parties. Celebrate tiny wins, finished a chapter? Bake yourself a cake. The art of strategic stubbornness. Let me tell you about Roy, an 81-year-old former mechanic. When his arthritis made woodworking difficult, he built special jigs to compensate for shaky hands. Switched to softer balsa wood. Worked in 20-minute bursts. Now he carves beautiful birds for his local nature center. That's not just persistence, that's strategic stubbornness. Your turn. 1. Identify your current roadblock. 2. Brainstorm 3 workarounds, get creative. 3. Test the simplest solution this week. The legacy loop. Every morning, Esther, a 76-year-old retired nurse, asks herself, 1. What can I do today that future me will thank me for? 2. What experience can I have that will become a great story? 3. Who can I connect with that matters? This 3-question ritual has led her to publish a memoir of her nursing days, take her great-grandchildren on monthly mystery trips, learn to text with emojis, the grandkids think I'm hilarious. When life interrupts, of course, reality happens. Medical issues, family crises, global pandemics. Here's how resilient retirees adapt. The pivot method. 1. Preserve the core. What essence of your dream still works? Example, can't travel? Create a cultural immersion night at home. 2. Change the form. How can it look different? Example, bad knees ended hiking? Became a nature photographer. 3. Bank the inspiration. Save ideas for better times. Example, made a future travels scrapbook while recovering. Your personal legacy map. Let's make this concrete. Grab any scrap of paper, we're creating your living legacy map. Draw 4 quadrants. 1. Learn. What excites your mind? X. Take a scent blending workshop. 2. Create. What expresses your soul? X. Knit blankets for NICU babies. 3. Connect. Who needs your magic? X. Write letters to lonely seniors. 4. Play. What makes you giggle? X. Try stand-up comedy at the senior center. When George first showed me this chair, I noticed something beautiful: the imperfections. The slightly uneven arms, the extra sanding marks where he'd fixed mistakes. Evidence of learning, he calls them. And that's really what we're talking about in this entire series, not creating perfect retirements, but creating alive ones. Where the wrinkles in the wood tell stories. Where the scuffs prove you showed up. Where every day offers a new chance to whisper, "Watch this." So here's your final challenge. This week, create one visible evidence of learning in your life. A first attempt, a glorious failure, a tiny triumph. However it turns out, I want you to tell me about it in the comments, because your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. After all, isn't that what legacies are really made of? Look at these 2 books. This crisp, empty one? That was my Sunday journal, the one I was going to use for my great American novel, once I had more time. This messy, overflowing one? That's what happened when I finally started writing anything 3 years ago. And you know what I realized? The difference between regret and fulfillment isn't time, or talent, or circumstances. It's simply showing up for yourself, day after day, in whatever way you can. As we wrap up this series, that's what we're going to focus on. How to make showing up for your dreams as natural as breathing, no matter what life brings. The daily practice of living fully. Retirement isn't about checking off a bucket list, it's about cultivating what pianist Arthur Rubinstein called the love of daily living. Here's how remarkable retirees do it. The non-negotiable system. Meet Florence, 84, who divides her week into non-negotiable days: Tuesday, Thursday, pottery studio; flex days, other days, adapt to energy opportunities; sacred rest days, Sunday, complete permission to do nothing. This balances structure with spontaneity, the key to sustainable joy. When plans and reality collide. Of course, life happens. When Evelyn's Parkinson's made her beloved gardening difficult, she 1. Preserved the core, still grew plants. 2. Changed the form, switched to vertical gardening at waist height. 3. Added new meaning, started teaching adaptive gardening to others. Your resilience toolkit. Keep an adaptation ideas journal. Identify 3 potential pivots for each current passion. Build relationships with others facing similar challenges. The ripple effect you can't see. Here's the beautiful secret: your courage creates invisible waves. When 79-year-old Ray started singing in his apartment hallway, inspired his shy neighbor to hum along, led to informal hallway concerts. Now they perform at the building's monthly socials. You never know how your small acts might transform someone else's life. Your living legacy checklist. Let's make this practical. Right now, wherever you are. 1. Touch something that represents a current joy: reading glasses, gardening gloves. 2. Name one tiny way you'll engage with it this week. 3. Whisper, "This matters." Because in the end, that's the antidote to regret: daily, deliberate devotion to what makes your soul come alive. See this coffee stain here? That's from the morning I was so excited about an idea I knocked over my cup. At 85, my friend Martha calls these evidence marks: the spills, the smudges, the repairs that prove we're truly living, not just existing. So here's my final challenge: leave your own evidence mark this week. Not something perfect, something real. Then come tell us about it, because your story might be the nudge someone else needs to finally start their own. After all, isn't that what unforgettable legacies are made of? Not flawless achievements, but gloriously imperfect proof that we showed up, again and again, for this one wild and precious life.